As I normally do, if you have a cell phone, please silence it or turn it off. And I will call the regular session of the City Commission to order for Wednesday, March 16, 2016. Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Shaw?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Polly? Here. Commissioner Mengelberg?
Here.
Mayor Holliday?
Here. Please stand and join me in flag salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Wow, it's been a while since we haven't had a ceremony or a proclamation, so we'll go right to citizen comments. Do we have any citizen comments tonight? Okay. Everybody okay with the agenda?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll move right on to general business. So 7A 16-175, first reading of ordinance 16-1003 for Historic Properties LLC, planning file ZC 15-03, zone change, and PZ 1501, comprehensive plan amendment for property located near Beaver Creek Road, Highway 213, and Maple Lane Road. Mr. Conkle.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, Commissioners. So at our last City Commission meeting, you gave tentative approval for the proposed comprehensive plan amendment and zone change for this application. We've written proposed ordinance number 16-1003 for your consideration tonight. Before we take any action on the ordinance, we did receive some additional audio, video files, as well as 2 affidavits to be entered in the record. So I'll have Mr. Kvaisman explain the situation as it relates to the initial bias claim, not the land use application itself.
So as you know, good evening, Mayor Holliday, Commissioners. As you know, the record was closed and the hearing was closed at the last meeting, and typically that's the last additional material that comes in. However, there is a provision in our code, 1750-180. Essentially, any party who objects to bias may raise that at any time before the final decision is adopted. The final decision is before you now, so it hasn't been adopted. And a participant, Jim Nicita, who alleged bias at the last hearing, had some additional material supported. In particular, 5 video files and 2 audio files that were referenced in the material he submitted, as well as 2 affidavits from Dave and Catherine Prideaux, I think. Alice, thank you. And so we're recommending that you accept those into the record tonight solely for the purpose of the bias allegation and not as to any substantive part of the decision that you're going to make.
Do you need a formal decision from us to do that?
I think let's do that just to make sure.
So, a motion to accept the additional material.
I move to accept the additional material for 16-175.
1003.
Excuse me, 16-1003.
Second.
Discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Polly? Aye. Commissioner Mengelberg? Aye. Mayor Holliday?
Aye. Okay, so now where are we?
So now we're back on track where you have the findings that staff has drafted for your consideration.
Mr. Conkle?
We've incorporated the findings and the conditions of approval based on the testimony that we heard and the recommendation from the Commission. So we are recommending that the City Commission approve the first reading of ordinance number 16-1003, approving this application.
Anybody have any questions?
No questions. I just hope everybody out there in our audience and our TV land realizes we're doing this kind of faster this evening, but there's been a lot of effort behind this thing and meetings and time, and thank God for the Planning Commission and everybody else. So don't take this lightly. This is going to go kind of fast here. So, all right. So I'll take first reading ordinance 16.
We've already had a motion in a second, right?
Okay.
No, that was for that.
No,
That was for the bias. That was for bias.
That was for accept the additional material, but there hasn't been a motion.
Okay, I apologize. So, Commissioner Shaw?
First reading, ordinance 16-1003 for Historic Properties LLC.
Is that
Mr. Kavaiseman. Motion 4.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Shaw, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Now, is there any further discussion?
I just want to say one thing. There's been nothing fast about this. It's been continued and continued and continued and continued. So there's nothing fast.
Is that it?
Okay. Ordinance number 16-1003, an ordinance of the City of Oregon City amending the comprehensive plan map in Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.06.020, the official zoning map of the Oregon City Municipal Code by changing the designations of the following properties: Clackamas County Map 3-2E-04C, tax lot 700, 702, 900, 1201, 1400 from the MR Medium Density Residential Comprehensive Plan designation to MUC Mixed Use Corridor Comprehensive Plan designation from the R-3.5 Dwelling District zoning designation to the MUC2 Mixed Use Corridor District zoning designation. Clackamas County Map 3-2E-043 tax lot 1300 and 3-2E-04CD tax lot 6000 from the LR Low Density Residential Comprehensive Plan designation to the MUC Mixed Use Corridor Comprehensive Plan designation from the R6 Single Family Dwelling District zoning designation to the MUC's Mixed Use Corridor District zoning designation, and Clackamas County Map 3-2E-04C tax lot 1500, 1600 and 3-2E-04CD tax lot 3500, 5900, 6000 from the LR Low Density Residential Comprehensive Plan designation to the MUC Mixed Use Corridor Comprehensive Plan designation from the R10 Single Family Dwelling District zoning designation to MUC2 Mixed Use Corridor District zoning designation.
That was
That's a
fast.
mouthful.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Polly,
Aye.
Commissioner Mangelberg,
Aye.
Mayor Holliday.
Aye. So, wow. Moving on to first reading of ordinance 16-1004 for Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center planning file ZC 15-04 zone change PZ 15-02 amendment to the comprehensive plan and CP 1502 master plan amendment. Mr. Conkle.
Thank you, Mayor. Evening, Commissioners. So we've brought back, once again, we had a preliminary approval of the proposed application for Providence Willamette Falls Medical Center to expand their master plan boundary by approximately 1 acre, consolidating 2 medical office buildings into one and amending the phasing plan for the application, as well as a comprehensive plan amendment and zone change to mixed-use employment. The Commission at our last meeting gave a tentative approval. We've prepared findings of fact and ordinance number 16-1004, and we are recommending approval.
Discussion? Motion?
I would like to approve the first reading of ordinance 16-1004. Second.
Mr. Kavaiseman.
We've got to work on shortening these titles. Ordinance number 16-1004, an ordinance of the City of Oregon City amending the comprehensive plan map in Title 17 zoning, Chapter 17.06.020 of the official zoning map of the Oregon City Municipal Code by changing the properties identified as Clackamas County Map 2-2E-32AB tax lots 3,000, 3,100 from the LR Low Density Residential Comprehensive Plan designation to the MUE Mixed Use Employment Comprehensive Plan designation and the R6 Single Family Dwelling District zoning designation to the MUE Mixed Use Employment District zoning designation, and amending and improving master plan for the properties located at Clackamas County Map 2-2E-32AB tax lot 1201, 1900, 2000, 2100, 2200, 2300, 2400, 2500, 2800, 2900, 3000, 3100, 3900, 4000, 4100, 4200, Clackamas County Map 2-2E-32AA tax lot 400, Clackamas County Map 2-2E-32AC tax lot 101, 201, 7200.
Okay. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Polly,
Aye.
Commissioner Mangelberg, Mayor Holliday.
Aye. Onward and upward. PC 16-039, first reading of ordinance number 15-1016, readoption of the Beaver Creek Concept Plan. Mr. Conkle.
Thank you. Once again, the City Commission closed the record for this legislative file and the readoption of the Beaver Creek Road Concept Plan at the March 2nd meeting, and voted to make a tentative oral decision to approve the concept plan. Staff has provided revised findings of fact for adoption by the Commission, which are included as Exhibit 1 to the ordinance, 15-1016. And the Beaver Creek Road Concept Plan appendices are attached as Exhibit to the ordinance, as well as the entire record. This has been reviewed by the Planning Commission as well as the City Commission, and believe that this finds that the Beaver Creek Road Concept Plan strikes an appropriate balance, achieving the community's vision for a complete and sustainable community with opportunities for Oregon City residents to live and work. Based on that, we are recommending approval of the first reading of ordinance number 15-1016.
Move to approve first reading of ordinance number 15-1016, readoption of the Beaver Creek Concept Plan.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Pauly. Mr. Kabizman.
This one's a little easier. Ordinance number 15-1016, an ordinance readopting the Beaver Creek Road Concept Plan, amending the Oregon City Conference Plan, and ancillary documents.
Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Pauly,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg, Mayor Holliday.
Aye.
And if I could, Mayor Holliday.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Mahoney's here tonight. He's a member of the Planning Commission, and I'd like to have you take back to your folks there. Thank you for the wonderful work they've done on these 3 items here,
Yeah, thank
and
you.
it's going to be some landmarks for the city here. So thanks so much for your time on this.
Oh, you're not getting out of that then either.
For the record, Mr. Mahoney said he was sick that day.
That's in case we get sued.
So moving on, 16-181, second reading of ordinance number 16-1001, amending Oregon City Municipal Code Title 5, business licenses and regulations. Mr. Parno.
Thank you, Mayor Holliday and members of the City Commission. At the March 2nd City Commission meeting, staff made a presentation regarding changes to, or requested changes to the business license and licensing regulation sections of code. This would be the second reading. If you recall, specifically we were trying to address some comments made by businesses and also the lack of an appeal language should a business license be denied. And there were some other administrative cleanups, such as taking cost amounts out of code and putting them into resolution consistent with other fees. No new fees are being proposed except for the one additional initial application fee, which is a nominal amount and consistent with other cities in the region. With that, I'd like to ask for the Commission to please move forward with the second reading of the ordinance.
Waiting.
Move for second reading of ordinance number 16-1001.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Ordinance
Oh,
number
sorry.
16-1001, an ordinance amending Oregon City Municipal Code Title 5, business licenses and regulations.
Now you can call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Pauly,
Aye.
Commissioner Mengelberg, Mayor Holliday.
Aye. 15-714, resolution number 16-06, adopting business license and miscellaneous permit fees. Mr. Parno.
Thank you, Mayor Holliday, City Commissioners. This is the resolution that we just spoke about that takes all of the fees that were related to business license and other licenses out of code and puts them into the resolution.
Discussion? Motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Pauly, seconded by Commissioner Smith. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw,
Aye.
Commissioner Smith,
Aye.
Commissioner Pauly, Commissioner Mengelberg, Mayor Holliday.
Aye. So next we have the consent agenda, and I do want to talk about one thing. It doesn't. I'm not going to pull it, but pointing the library board member Don Wright to the Library District Advisory Committee, and I just want to thank Mr. Wright for his service to the library. And if you're ever up in the Berkeley Hills neighborhood, you'll often see Don wandering around with his dog picking up trash. So he does his own thing as far as supporting our city that way. So I just want to say thanks to Don for his hard work. Does anybody want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Then a motion.
Move to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Smith, seconded by Commissioner Pauly. Call the roll.
Commissioner Shaw?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Polly? Aye. Commissioner Mangelberg? Aye. Mayor Holliday?
All right. Now we're to communications. Mr. Manager, you have anything for us?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to start with Arbor Day celebration. Be Saturday, April 9th, 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock at Hillendale Park. So volunteers, more than glad to have them come out and help us plant a couple trees, replacing some of the trees that are being removed due to damage to the walking trail. And then our annual Earth Day event, Saturday, April 23rd, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Clackamat Park. Registration begins at 8:30 to 9. Please bring any tools for personal use, gloves, shovels, pruners, kids that you can direct what to do so you don't have to do it. We will have some raffle prizes there, and then a lunch starting at 12 o'clock. So more information, if you'd like that, it is on our website, or you can call City Hall, and we can provide that. I would like to provide an update, and Mr. Gebaisman will help me with this as well. The governor did sign Senate Bill 1573, which deals with annexations, and when you have all consenting property owners making a request for annexation to the city that's contiguous to the city, as well as meets the land use approval criteria. If that's approved by the city commission, it will not be sent to the vote of the people. So did want to pass that along and answer any questions that folks may have, and Mr. Gebaisman can certainly add some more of the details there. I think there's going to be some interesting interpretations, I think, as we move forward, as some of this is not as clear as some would probably
Hold our
like.
comments till then.
Yeah.
Mr. Gebaisman, could you enlighten us on what the requirements might be of property owners wishing to take advantage of that?
So I guess one thing to think about it, the courts in Luba have kind of treated annexation decision as really two separate decisions. One is a planning decision. Does it make sense to grow in this way, given the public facilities that we have and all the rest? And then the political decision, is this something the city wants to do? And our charter has that requirement for the second piece, the political decision, to have it submitted to the voters. What this bill does is take that second piece out and require the city to adopt it. So require the city to approve it if it meets the planning requirements. So if, in fact, somebody wants to take advantage of it, I'd advise them to talk to an attorney of their own to take a look at it. But the bill is actually relatively short. It's really only one page, and it basically has 5 requirements. It's got to be submitted by all owners. So if you have a dissenting owner, or you have, you don't have unanimity, it's not going to work for you. It must be included within the urban growth boundary adopted by the city or metro. So it's got to already be in the UGB, and we don't control our UGB; it's metro. So that's not something we could assist with. The territory must be subject to the acknowledged comprehensive plan of the city, either at the time of annexation or right after annexation. And for example, the Beaver Creek concept plan, once that is adopted, then those areas will be subject to the city's comprehensive plan, so that would be an option. At least one lot or parcel must be contiguous to the city limits or is separated only by public right-of-way or body of water. So and that's fairly standard for any annexation. You got to be contiguous. You can't have little islands of city jurisdiction. And probably the most interesting piece is going to be the proposal otherwise conforms to the city's ordinances. And, we have Title 14 that deals with annexations, and it's got to show a number of things. You got to show that there's facilities available to the property. You got to show, the other things that you review when you look at annexations. And so those requirements don't go away. Those requirements are still there, and it's still got to make sense from a planning perspective for these areas to be annexed.
So in terms of process, is it discretionary on the part of the council whether they approve or don't approve, or if they meet the criteria, they're automatically granted?
So there is some discretion for this commission about whether or not it meets the planning requirements. If you hang on one second. The key criteria in Title 14 about annexations is you have a set of factors, and let's find those factors. The commission shall consider the following factors as relevant: adequacy of access, conformity with the city's comprehensive plan, adequacy and availability of public facilities, compliance with statute and Metro Code, natural hazards, any significant adverse effect on specially designated open space, scenic, historic, or natural resources areas, and lack of any significant adverse effect on the economic, social, and physical environment of the community by the overall impact of the annexation. So when you look at whether or not the annexation meets the planning requirements, that's the factors that you look at. And you set for, your code requires you to set for election only those annexations that, only set for elections, annexations that are consistent with a positive balance of the factors set forth in that chapter. So there's a fair bit of discretion by the City Commission about whether or not you meet the planning factors. Once you make that determination that in fact it does meet those planning factors, then there's no discretion. You've got to approve it. It becomes annexed. There's no vote. There's no second political aspect of it.
And if the council were to deny it for any reason, would there be an appeal to LUBA, or how does that work?
It may be appealed to LUBA, and exactly what those appeals might look like really depends on the process and the decision. There might be some procedural issues. There might be questions about whether or not you properly balanced those factors. I think you've got a wide bit of discretion, so in most cases, that discretion is likely to be upheld. But
so Commissioner Mengelberg asked it in the light of if the commission were to deny an annexation request, if we were to find that an annexation request met all the code, is that appealable to LUBA?
That would be appealable to LUBA as well. Again, whether you found the positive balance of those factors or didn't find a positive balance, either one of those decisions would be appealable. But once that decision was made, if you set it for if you find a positive balance, the annexation happened. There's no political side of it. There's no vote by the voters.
So let's say the council were to deny a request because it didn't meet the factors. Not that we would do that, but let's say we do. Does the applicant have the option of going before the voters in an election, or is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
Other than LUBA, you don't take that second political step.
Okay.
But what's interesting is it talks about, potentially bringing in additional land to provide the infrastructure and the services. What happens when that person, if that's a non-willing person? I mean, there's a lot of ways that this is going to play out depending on what the application is. Or in our comp plan, we try to not create islands. We have 5 willing property owners, but it creates an island around one. So those are just going to be some of the challenging policy decisions that potentially could come up. And I'm just making these up, but as we've seen historically over the last 15 years of annexation requests that come in, these are some of the things that we do run into from time to time.
Let me throw one other interesting thing that's happened. I've heard rumors that the League of Oregon Cities is considering challenging this measure because of home rule. Essentially, home rule. The key fundamental aspect of home rule is that the cities get to determine politically how they're going to be formed and how they're going to make decisions. And this takes really the key political question out of the city's grasp and forces it. And so that's going to be the argument that League of Oregon Cities may challenge 1573 under. Don't know if they actually will do it, but I've heard rumors that they are starting to look at it.
Okay, then.
And just one other thing to add real quick. We have one application in-house. It's for a single lot with a single house with a failing septic. So we'll be having that discussion with them as to how this proceeds in light of this new bill being passed.
Is that the situation that I've been talking with you about?
I'm trying to think. Connie?
No, never mind.
No, different one.
Never mind.
And
Okay.
it's effective immediately, so we could be seeing applications coming soon. Is that correct?
And we will.
It is effective immediately, and that also brings up something else. It's effective immediately, so what does that do with annexations that are currently pending in the pipeline? And it's a complex question about retroactivity of statutes, and the sort of advice I would give if I were representing a property owner is withdraw it, resubmit it. But that may be an issue we face as well.
Okay. Anything else?
Library Director Cole.
Yes, finally.
I just have to mention her name anymore, huh? That ain't what she's gonna do.
We got the lights on yet?
It's so nice to speak to you at 7:30 at night instead of 11. I'm a little more awake, hopefully.
I just want to say how nice it is to see something being built, to see something being done, to see the whole process from like start to soon to finish. This is great.
It is. It's really fun. And as you may have noticed, some of the scaffolding has come down, so revealing some of the building.
Yeah.
So let's see. Okay, so this is what they call a precast, and this is one of the pieces that forms like the lintel that goes around the ledge that kind of picks up the color and the ledge of the Carnegie. These are very, very heavy and really hard to put into place. It's kind of dark, but you can see that it's on straps there and kind of being adjusted into place because it has to be within like a quarter to a half an inch. So that took a lot of time. That is the new skylight. Yeah, it was in last week. That's kind of one of those, I'm going to get dizzy when I look at that. But those are, you can see that down below, that's the stairs going up. And so.
So the roof is closed now?
Yeah.
The envelope's not closed, but the roof is closed.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Those are fancy new stairs to the emergency exit. Pretty fun. Those are just some of the many window frames that are up. I don't know. Dan, stop, please.
He's not going to stop.
It is fun.
It is fun.
Yes, it's
well,
fun.
Every week when I go in there, there's new things. And Gym Band, you are going to be exactly the same way when you get to see your new building. Every new thing that you see finished is like very exciting because it's progress towards that finished product.
Yes.
So these are all window frames, and that's only some of them. There's a lot of windows in this building. And there's the reveal of the brick.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, which looks really nice. So you'll see more scaffolding starting to come down. There's more brick that's up, but you can't really see it behind the scaffolding. So
And
that backside is pretty well done.
And the white is the lintels in the window frames there?
Yeah, those are those are just small ones. The big ones are around the front and on the side. So I don't really show them out on this. I'll get a better one next week.
And it really does pay tribute to the existing Carnegie.
Who's that guy?
It really does.
Yes.
So this is,
That's you.
Pretty sure not.
yeah, pretty sure not. This guy's a little heavier than you.
Never give band an opening. I'm telling you right now.
I did not give that opening.
So, I'll get you, Jim Band. So the artist for the public art project brought in a maquette, a model, this week that was all scale, and he kind of revealed the sculpture that he is going to be doing. And so this is kind of neat because it's to scale, and that's it looking down from the top. So from the top, those are commas. He wanted to incorporate language without incorporating like letters or words or whatever, and I think that's pretty clever. And then
You okay with that?
that
Reminds me
is
of
all
water too,
Pardon?
of. Kind of reminds me of water
Yeah.
too, which is important to us.
These are, I forget the name of it, but it's like diacritic glass or something like that. It's very, very reflective, and it kind of casts off the prisms of the color. And so, and these are on different levels on cables that go to every single wall in the foyer, which is really, really neat because it really uses the space super, super well. And it goes, you can't really see from this level, but there's like some that are higher and some that are lower. And I was very concerned that he would come back to us with something that was like really heavy and kind of looming over as a presence in the lot, in the foyer, because it's big because we're not used to having a foyer, but it's not that big, and you wouldn't want that feeling. But this is very light, and it just feels really good to all of us on the committee liked it a lot, so we approved this, and he's going off to manufacture it. And then we're big believers in cute, as you know. That is, this is Davey. He's the 3-year-old son of our construction site manager, who is awesome and doing a great job. And I just wanted to also mention that we have started work in 6th Street for the water lines, and that will go on for a couple of weeks off and on, and that will impact traffic a little bit, but that's necessary work, and we've been working with Public Works. They've been great on that. And then also, just to let you know, there is another Pints from the Past scheduled for April 11th, Monday, at Midway Historic Public House, and our speaker will be Sandy Carter and Peggy Sigler, and they will talk about the Willamette Falls locks, which will be a really interesting topic. And that's all I've got.
Can you go back to the brick facade,
Yes.
the showing the relief on there?
Yeah. That's all right.
We can just talk about it, but it's interesting, when they start bringing the brick on site, you think they just kind of start putting it on and stuff, but each time they fire a load of brick and they do another one, it can be different. And so they actually have a blending process. They'll take 3 loads of different batches and have to make sure that it's all mixed together. Because if they do this one load, put it up, and put this other load, put it up, you might be able to see the difference. So they'll take all of these bricks and they'll blend them and make sure that you won't be able to see the different batches. So it's pretty cool.
It's a very cool process.
It'll take a little labor intensive.
A little labor intensive. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Library Director? I am going to be out on vacation starting tomorrow evening through Monday the 28th of March. While I'm gone, Scott Archer will be acting city manager while I'm away. That's concludes my communications tonight.
All right.
Commissioner Mangelberg, you got anything?
Yeah, I along with Rocky, went to the presentation of the Girl Scouts at La Tourette Park, which was really charming and heartwarming, and there was good turnout despite torrential rain, and a lot of input, and it was a really feel-good event. So kudos to the Girl Scouts on that. Attended the C4 Metro Subcommittee this meeting. I'm not sure we resolved much, but they talked about the 25-75% split for freight versus mobility, and that will be discussed at Metro this month. So I think that's kind of a done deal. Although the folks around our table did not want that. They wanted to have one pot that's flexible, that had multiple criteria to reward the most worthy projects, but it doesn't look like it's going that way. I was on the selection committee for the Willamette Falls Legacy Board, and we spent 2 grueling hours going through about 73 applicants, and we'll be meeting again next Monday, I think, for 4 hours to go through the remainder of them. We're hoping to get down to 14 folks, and the core mission of the early board would be to focus on fundraising. So that's the lens that the selection committee is looking at it through. That's it.
Commissioner Shaw?
So I, too, was at the party in the park with, saw Rocky. I didn't see her going out of there. But anyway, that's going to be a great little project there to see what the outcome of that's going to be and stuff. It's obviously got some challenges there. This is the Lauderdale Park. And so the Girl Scouts have taken this on as a little project. And they had Sunday, everybody was there to give input and
Buy cookies.
And that cost me 4 boxes of cookies. So,
Quite the sacrifice.
I had to twist my make a little room in the freezer. It's fine. So, also did CIC on Monday, and I guess we still have some issues down in Kenema. I keep thinking that it's just different levels and stuff, but we're working on that. So I think that'll come out fine eventually here. So. That's it.
Commissioner Pauly?
Yes. Well, we had our commission retreat, which was good as always, reviewing all of our goals and going over everything. We've made a lot of progress as a city. It was amazing to read the list of all the accomplishments, and to just keep going forward. A few new things added, but pretty much on track. I went to the State of the Schools yesterday, which was the principal or the superintendent for Oregon City Schools, Larry Didway, and then also for Clackamas Community College too. And it was just great to see what our schools are doing and how they're just striving to do better. Our high schools, our schools, public schools are above the state average in most areas, which is great to see. Downtown Oregon City Association, the face of Main Street, Oregon City, they have a new office. It's right next door to the old office, but it's bigger, and it is going to provide even more interaction with the public. There is going to be a projected screen in there that you can see what's happening on Main Street. There is also an interactive map down there that can be used for different purposes on the wall to show different buildings maybe that are for rent or different events going on. So I encourage everybody to stop in and see the new office and say hello and interact with Main Street.
Commissioner Smith?
So I attended the Ladderette Park event as well, which I sat in my living room watching the park all morning. It was pouring down rain, and I kind of just thought, well, maybe they're not going to do this. And I was shocked by how many people showed up, and the weather was just horrible. But a lot of kids. I don't know probably the last time there was that many people in that park, they were swimming in a pool. So it was neat. The other thing is, let's see, we had our Clackamas Heritage Partners meeting yesterday at the museum, or at the end of the Oregon Trail, and things are going well at the end of the Oregon Trail. Interpretive Center attendance is up, and I think the one thing that is exciting is the really what's happening is this drive to prepare for the future in terms of more tourism, but also realizing that within the building itself only has a certain amount of capacity to deal with so many visitors and so many programs, and so looking beyond the building out to the grounds and the site, and how to better utilize that. There's a program that is being created and is already in place, but they're kind of adding to it, which is essentially a trail that wraps behind the end of the Oregon Trail building, where they can bring school groups in and have different programming in the outside of the building. So that's something that staff at the Interpretive Center are continuing to work on and expand. I think staff had met with Scott and the city, I think the city manager as well, and Wyatt as well, to give an update on the finances there, and are talking about how to possibly create a fund to set aside money for ongoing maintenance into the future with the building. So I think things are going well at Clackamas, or within Clackamas Heritage Partners and the Oregon Trail.
That it?
That's it.
Okay. So I was at the second meeting of the Governor's Willamette Falls Locks Task Force today. Had interesting attendance from all across the spectrum. ODOT comes to that. Somebody from Clackamas County, Carlotta Collette from Metro, Governor Roberts is the convener and chairs the meeting. Former Congresswoman Darlene Hooley. So just a mass of people, and everybody is really focused on, heading down the road towards getting this thing fixed. The legislature provided $400,000 for some temporary repairs coming up this next year. That will fix some problems to make them operational, but they won't be able to be actually operated. I was frustrated to hear that it's going to take another 2.5 years to get the, what do they call it, whatever report it is from the Corps of Engineers to come to a solution on how to transfer the ownership or whatever. So I asked that question and I got a very, very long answer about there's all these billions of things that we have to do. You know, we have to go from point A to point B and back to Z and over to D before we can get there. So I let them know that I'm frustrated with things that take that long when it seems fairly simple. One of the guys that was there, I can't remember his last name. He's the president of Wilsonville Concrete and Marine Transportation. He said, if there wasn't the government in the way, we could probably fix it and have it be operational for, a couple of $1 million, and it would take us, $250,000 a year to operate. But it is the government in the way, and we're part of that. So I'm frustrated as anybody else about how we can't make things move faster in some of these kinds of things. I attended. After that meeting, it was curious. I did have a conversation with one of the senior folks at ODOT who came to me and said, "Hey, we're looking at adding lanes to the Abernathy Bridge." So it's a ways away. But they are programming towards that. They've gotten some money to do the study, the engineering study and all that. So I just thought it was interesting that at least they're thinking about that, and that certainly would be a priority for Oregon City. That's a bottleneck on both sides of the bridge as far as 205 and rush hour. So that could be a big help for us as we get more traffic coming into Oregon City to be able to fix that bottleneck. I attended a meeting of the Columbia Pacific Northwest Building Trades Council and just talked a little bit about what's going on in Oregon City, the library, and then as we move forward on the other capital projects that we're talking about. So those are guys from all of the different building trades, from masons to steel workers to electricians and plumbers and roofers and all painters and all the different folks, and they're excited about what's going on in Oregon City and hope to be able to participate in those projects as we move them forward. I guess the last thing is there was a piece in the Oregon City News this week, and if I'm difficult to work with, I apologize to you guys, okay?
We accept your apology.
Yeah. Bob was asleep again. What happened?
Okay, is there anything else for the good of the order?